The presidential pardon was originally meant to grant the president the power to temper justice with mercy. It was not enshrined in our Constitution so that a dishonorable man could reward his criminal allies, friends, and family for their corrupt practices. I don't have a problem with Biden pardoning his son. He should have pardoned him. The crazies are coming, right? But to me, it's like, pardon more.
Who was contesting, and one of his most trusted advisors, Sean Hannity, suggested his next move should be pardoning himself and his family to stop the so-called witch hunt. I mean, I don't know that he even has the power to do that. What, does no one read? He's the president, the sitting president, and he can do whatever he wants to until his time is up.
So this just in, President Biden is reportedly considering preemptive pardons before President-elect Trump takes office. Those could include Anthony Fauci, Liz Cheney, and even Adam Schiff. For what? Well, Lucas Tomlinson is live at the White House. Lucas, is this even legal?
Well, it's certainly unprecedented, Dana, and many Republicans and even some Democrats on Capitol Hill think it would set a bad precedent. Now, earlier, Republican Congresswoman Lance Gooden from Texas had this to say about preemptive pardons.
This administration is very cognizant of the fact that their Justice Department has been weaponized, that they have been in on an act of criminality throughout many stages of this presidency.
Now, you mentioned some of the names off the top, Dana. According to Politico, President Biden's top aides are weighing this idea of issuing these preemptive pardons to current and former government officials ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration next month. And that includes former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, Senator-elect Adam Schiff, and Dr. Anthony Fauci. Fauci's been accused by Republicans and some watchdog groups of lying to Congress about the origins of COVID and his use of a private email account to do government business. Now, not everyone on that list wants a preemptive pardon. Adam Schiff telling Politico, I would urge the president not to do that. I think it would seem defensive and unnecessary.
The question is, would they accept a pardon? Because if you don't think you did anything wrong, which they didn't, they might want to not take a pardon. But I will say this, you're talking about an unprecedented crew of people coming in. Listen, even if they don't indict you, they could investigate you into bankruptcy, torture you with FBI investigations. Kash Patel is evidently going to be our next FBI director. Is that what you want to be dealing with for the rest of your life?
Trump during the time he was out of office.
President Trump got actually indicted by a grand jury.
They tried to bankrupt him. They raided his house.
Grant of clemency. I hope that President Biden will also issue preemptive pardons to all of those people threatened by the injustice of what will become the Department of Justice in the Trump administration. That, of course, includes Jack Smith and all of his staff, many Department of Justice lawyers. It includes President Biden himself, although we don't know that anyone can legally pardon themselves. He will need a pardon because he is going to be harassed and charged for no crimes whatsoever. Donald Trump has promised that.
I shouldn't say easy, but there's a way to do this, I think, that would make the narrative clear-cut for the American people. It's not ideal to have an incoming potential head of the FBI, Kash Patel, who has published enemies lists. But one advantage of that is that he wrote a book. He has an enemies list in it. So we know exactly who he has threatened to go after without cause. Just pardon everyone on it. Pardon everyone on it. Give a speech, say, and this is one reason I wish that the president was a better.
I think the fact that they have to have that discussion says everything about Kash Patel and Donald Trump's nominees. There is no reason why any president must consider preemptive pardons because the incoming administration has made it so clear that they will go after political adversaries. And Kash Patel has been incredibly vocal about that. And I hope that the Senate Republicans, who know Joe Biden very well and know he would not take something like this lightly, really consider the fact that that's even part of this discussion about Kash Patel. He is unqualified. He is unhinged. He has made it very clear that he is out for retribution. He is sending cease and desist letters and lawsuits. This is a dangerous person to head up our top law enforcement agency. And just the fact that this is even part of the conversation says everything that the Senate Republicans should need to hear.
Like, what are you pardoning Anthony Fauci for? What are you pardoning Liz Cheney for, who've not been charged or convicted of crimes?
That goes to the heart of this deliberation, Willie, and why this is so delicate, because the White House counsel and a handful of senior White House aides, including Jeff Zients, the chief of staff, are having this debate right now in the West Wing, which is, do we leave these folks out in the cold and potentially expose them to Kash Patel's FBI and Donald Trump's White House for any number of charges or some kind of, show trial to get a measure of revenge and at the very least make them pay six figures in legal bills to avoid such a case? Or do we offer preemptively pardons to people who there's no proof they've done anything wrong whatsoever and really may not want a pardon in the first place? That's a real tough call, because if you don't do it and Patel and company come after some of these people and you had the chance to give them inoculation legally, that's a hell of a thing to regret. At the same time, do you want to pardon somebody like Liz Cheney or Anthony Fauci and suggest any kind of impropriety that could only add fuel to the Trump aggressors in the first place? It's a real tough nut.
You agree with me? I don't have a problem with Biden pardoning his son. He should have pardoned him. The crazies are coming, right? But to me, it's like pardon more people and help more people. Your thoughts?
Right. I don't know if I would trust someone who had the power to pardon their son and didn't, and left him to the whims, subject to the whims of somebody like Trump.
Senator, before you go, I want to ask you, President Trump is reportedly considering issuing a wave of preemptive pardons for family members and allies like Rudy Giuliani, potentially even a self-pardon. Do you think that those pardons are appropriate? Do you think they would be legal?
I don't think they are appropriate at all. This individual, Mr. Trump, has flaunted the law on a continual basis. Unlike, though, Joe Biden, whatever happens on a going forward basis, that ought to be done by a Justice Department decision. I'm not going to weigh in, or whatever's going to happen in New York will happen or not.
Barack Obama never had to think about whether he needed to pardon Sasha and Malia, and yet Donald Trump is reportedly discussing pardons for his kids. The presidential pardon was originally meant to grant the president the power to temper justice with mercy. It was not enshrined in our Constitution so that a dishonorable man could reward his criminal allies, friends, and family for their corrupt practices. Trump is considering preemptive pardons for his adult children. Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family. And so there is a self-interest at play as well. It's been essentially a den of thieves environment. And so I think the president used this as his way of trying to protect those that have protected him.